Seun Kuti. He is the youngest son of Afrobeat pioneer Fela Anikulapo Kuti. He has spent most of his life preserving and extending his father's political and musical legacy as the leader of the Egypt 80.
That's quite an inheritance, right?
I didn't inherit the Egypt 80 though.
Okay.
Most people say she inherited Egypt 80, but I didn't, because I've been in the band since I was 8.
Okay.
Touring with my dad, after, because he used to always take us on the road. And as a kid, I just saw his life like, man, this is what I want to do. I mean, this has to be the easiest job
in the world.
I was a kid. What did I know?
Oh.
You go on stage, you sing your songs, everybody love you. My dad used to only get paid in cash. Father used to do bands, so after every show, they had to bring all the money backstage like this. We were full of money, women. I'm like,
what else can you want?
I
wouldn't have been happy if he was still alive now. No cash.
No, Fela would have had cash. We would have opened POS in our house. I'm sure one person with cash would have been my dad. I would just go open POS because of KK. See? I'll have bought private jets by now.
Oh, really?
From my POS business.
There's something that I find particularly fascinating about what you do on your website. That in spite of the political and musical legacy of your dad, you've also chosen to infuse our cultures into your music and into the things that you do. Why do I personally find that exciting? Because I look at Nigeria's music scene now, the transition between the 70s music, which was a lot local, high life and the rest, to the 80s, which was mostly pop, the foreign pop, to the 90s, which was Nigerians now taking over, but more pop, now to this current generation that we have doing Afro pop and the rest of it. I'm looking for the Africanness or the cultures and all of that in most. Not that it doesn't exist, but in most of them it doesn't seem to exist. What's your take on that?
To be honest, it didn't used to. But there's this new young artist, Shay Vibes or something. If you see his video, that boy director shot, very cultural video, to the extent that he was reciting incantations with juju in his hand in a part of the video, what they call juju, I don't know what juju is, what they call juju, so for me, the young people are beginning to see that they cannot outwhite the Europeans.
Outwhite the white.
Yeah, they can't. But the mistake we made is that in the early 2000s, we allowed foreigners come to dictate to us what African music should sound like. I don't want to name names, but these companies that project so-called African music to the world, they dictated the kind of content. And these companies are also owned by many of these luxury brands, just as they do in America. So they use the music to promote the things that really make them money, which is their fashion lines, their cars, all these luxury brands. So our music was inclined to also sell these things. But I think as young African people are beginning to come more into themselves, it will not only be visual when they want to be cultural, it will also become vocal as well. So it's time. I think we are growing with our nation.
How does it make you feel that most of the music that is selling all over the world now, and I mean music from here that is selling all over the world, is called Afro beats, which has infused Afro beats into it, which was started by yours truly, Fela himself?
I think it is marketing. If you look at dancehall music, when it started, it was called raga. So it could sound like reggae, so that people could know where it's coming from. Our music, even though it has created big buzz in the world, we're still becoming, we're not yet a household name in the globe, We're still looking for our music to start breaking markets where they have their own pop sound already. You know, and until you start doing that, your pop music is not doing anything. You know, the way Drake, for example, releases an album, is #1 in Korea, #1 in Japan. You know, our music can't do that yet because Korea has K-pop. You know, Japan is keyed into that. You know, in Brazil and all these places. So we are still working on that. I think Afrobeats is the way to market this to the world, you know. So I really don't see...
I have to tell you something, Seun. Yeah. The fact that our songs have Afro in it
is enough.
Is enough.
For me.
Is enough, right?
White, what, that has Afro in it, and they have beats. For me, it's enough identity.
Yeah.
Because if we are looking for, I mean, we've been asking ourselves for eons, what do we have to give to the world? We had, now we're talking about having movies. But what's selling more now seems to be the music.
Music.
You can't recite the lyrics or the lines of a movie on the road. But you can recite that of a music, of a song.
Yeah, the music is different for, you know, like, that's why I always say to fellow artists, we cannot believe the lies of the oppressor when they tell us, you know, you can make any music you want. You know, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger making violent movies. Is that the reason why people are killing themselves? The power of music is not the same as the power of a film. For example, your favorite film, you watch it maybe twice a year. 3 times a year, max, you watch your favorite movie. But your favorite song, even when it is not playing, you are singing it to yourself. It's a mantra. There's a spiritual connection with music and human beings. It becomes a chant, becomes meditation. It begins to shape your personality.
Now, for me, how then do we use that for conscientizing Nigerians or Africans? I'm talking about owning the identity and using that identity to let the world know.
Pass a message.
Yes.
People have asked me this question a lot, and I always say to everybody that we put too much pressure on artists. You know, when we say, you know, we expect them to use their music for, you know, artists must change the world. We cannot change the world alone.
But many have done.
Yeah, they have tried. This is the problem. It's true, I'm from that lineage. I'm Fela's son, for Christ's sake, you know. Bob Marley, you know. They have tried, but the problem is, if the engineer is not willing to engineer a new world, if the bankers are not willing to bank a new world, bankroll a new world, if the civil service servants are not willing to service a new world, if the journalists are not willing to write a new world, there's so little that music can do. If the professors are not willing to teach a new world, you know, so the musicians can just try and inspire. We are there to inspire. But
hear this.
If other social sciences are not willing to change the world as well, then music is just...
Hear this. Your father did his fair bit.
Yes.
Many, many years ago.
Yes.
And the songs that the things he said in his songs, those many, many years ago, are still being said today.
Yes.
His songs are still being played today because his message is still relevant.
And I wish that Nigeria has moved past that. I wish that the engineers in Nigeria have truly been inspired by that message to engineer a new country. You know,
so you wish that those things were not still relevant today.
Exactly. I wish that, as Fela has spoken, it's really, as I said, all the social sciences and the experts in this field are the ones. We must change the world. It's not just music. Fela can sing all he's singing. If the engineers in Nigeria still betray that message, then it's just a message. If the bankers, the civil servants, the lecturers, the professors, the journalists, if they betray that message, then it's just that.
I agree with you. But you can't remonstrate the power of music.
No, I can't. That's what I'm saying. It inspires.
It has enough, not just invocative, but provocative power.
Yes.
It can get people to do stuff.
Yes. Especially the masses.
Especially the masses.
But now we need the professional class to be inspired above their own interests. We need them to be inspired above their own interests. I'm not even talking about our politicians and the big elites that own everything. I'm saying we the gears that keep the machine turning.
We the people.
We the people.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because I see a trend between you and your dad, and of course all of you in the family who are into music. How
into the arts.
Into the arts.
Oh, thank you, man.
How important is education
Oh, wow.
I see that in what you're saying and the deep persuasion with which you're saying it. How important is education? And I'm not just talking about academics. I'm pretty sure you understand exactly what I'm talking about. How important is education in making conscious or conscientizing music?
If education is understanding reality, then it is the most important in making conscious music. And I'm not talking about the indoctrination we go through in formal education. Because I say to my friends all the time, I can't believe we live in Nigeria. You go through 12 years of primary and secondary school, and in your classroom, you never hear the word checkpoint, police checkpoint. You never hear it in your classroom. Nobody discusses it with you. How to navigate police checkpoint.
Well, maybe it's different now. Maybe it's different now because it was just recently I found out that my daughter in JS1 or so at the time, they now have a subject called security or something like that.
Well, I'll check because it's important. Because when I was growing up, 12 years, I didn't hear injustice, oppression, police brutality. None of these things were spoken of in class, and I went through and I'm educated. So, if we remove the indoctrination, education of just understanding our reality is the most important thing in making any kind of conscious music.
Let's talk about you for a bit. We've only got 2.5 minutes to go. How did you manage? Because you said you began to sing with your father when you were 8 years. You were a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So you were singing with your father, touring with him, and yet going to school.
Yes. Touring was mostly in the summer. So school was on holiday.
Okay.
So I could go on tour with my dad. But even when there was school, my dad would write a letter to the school, and I'd have to catch up when I got back.
Wow.
Yeah. I worked really hard as a kid. I'm telling you.
So you've been working since you were 8?
Since I was 8. I told a friend of mine, that I've been 32 years working non-stop. So nobody should be surprised if I retire at the age of 48 or something. And I'm done. I'm just living in my house, raising my children, done with work. Every day since I've been 8, I've been working all my life.
Wow, interesting. So we have just about 2 minutes, as Olera said. What do we expect from you? This is such a short time that we have you. You're going to have to promise to come back.
I will. Anytime.
What should Nigerians be expecting, your fans all over the world, should be expecting from you
this year?
Wow, this is a big year for us. We just released a track with Janelle Monáe yesterday. It's doing really well, called Float. Please stream it, everybody, if you're watching. My album is dropping this year. I have a big legendary producer making it. I don't want to drop names here. We're going to announce soon. I have some movies coming out.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a big year for me, so I'm really looking forward, to how it unravels.
Well, let me play the role of a manager right now. She's my artist. She's an actress.
Yes, so, we'll find you in Roma. Don't worry. The casting director will reach out.
You have to talk to me.
No, we'll reach out directly to the actor.
What do you mean by
mommy and son business.
Mommy and Son Limited.
Okay.
What? Is that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Whoa.
This was during the launch of Fela's Confusion Breakbone. I used to open the shows for my dad,
Wow.
That was me swagging away,
Oh my God. How old were you at this point?
I must have been like 9. I was a little kid,
Look at the dwarf.
Well, that is very
good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Kuti, thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
We wish you all the best. Since you say you're going to have a very busy year.
Yeah, it's a big year.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you, ma. Thank you.